Well, welcome back to The Way. If you're watching this video right now, then you've already come a long way in your walk with Jesus, and you've now reached a spot where you're ready for the next step.
Right. You're at a spot right now where you want to take all that God is doing in your heart and life and pour it out to help others. You don't want to just attend the church, you want to become the church.
Come on, Dana, preach it. That's right. It's kind of like when you're sitting on the sidelines watching everyone else play the best game of dodgeball in the world. And maybe if dodgeball is traumatic to you, then we'll fill in whatever other sport or activity you love. Fortnite, thrifting, a pizza eating contest, whatever. Whatever it is, you can feel deep down that you should be a part of that, that you were even meant to be a part of that, that whatever it is would be even better if you were in it rather than watching from afar.
And that's exactly what it can feel like within our faith and the church. We see people being involved, helping others, and we wonder, can I do that too? How do I get in the game rather than just sitting on the sidelines? How do I become the church rather than just attending it?
And as you've already learned up to this point, our own spiritual health matters. Understanding our own personal relationship with God and our rhythms with Him, being in community. This is all a vital piece for a solid foundation with Jesus. And if we want to become the church rather than just attending it, then we have to use what God has given us to help others. That's exactly how we do it.
So, what exactly has God given us to use to help others?
He's given you some great dance moves, Dana, right? Isn't that it?
Yeah, well, not exactly. For each and every one of us, God has given us time, talent, and resources. He's blessed us so that we can be a blessing to others. It's a huge reason why we launched our CY Impact team, because we believe that it isn't just for adults, it's for middle school and high school
Amen.
students too. We believe God wants to make an impact through you. And how that becomes a reality is through you knowing how God has gifted you so you can keep sharing that gift with others.
Absolutely. It's easy to believe that we don't have much to offer until we're older in our lives or even in our faith journey. But just because you're a student doesn't mean that you have anything less to offer in God's eyes. It's amazing what God can do with our yes to Him. So let's dive into those three areas and how we can give Him our yes and be used by Him in powerful ways.
The first area is with our time. Paul writes in Ephesians 5, "So be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. Don't act thoughtlessly, but understand what the Lord wants you to do. See every day an opportunity to make our days more about Him and less about us, more about serving others and less about serving ourselves, more about making His name great and making our name less."
That's right. That's really good. And how do you spend your time each day? Take a moment to think about that and see where God could be leading you to spend your time more wisely and, most importantly, more about Him. Small steps lead to big changes through time. So think about how each day you can give a little more time to your relationship with God, to your community, and to even helping others.
It could be as simple as replacing 5 minutes on social media for 5 minutes of praying for someone or reaching out to a loved one and checking in with them. Look at your time, how you spend it, and think through how you can reorient your schedule around God rather than God around your schedule.
Mm, that's right. And the second area of our lives has to do with resources. And what do we mean by resources? Think of the physical, material, financial things in our lives. What has God physically given you that you can use to help others?
The easiest way we see this is through actual money and learning how to give generously. You may not have a full time job at your age or in this season, but it's actually not about the money, it's about the heart. Check out what it says in Luke 21. While Jesus was in the temple, he watched the rich people dropping off their gifts in the collection box. Then a poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins. "I tell you the truth," Jesus said. "This poor widow has given more than all the rest of them, for they have given a tiny part of their surplus, but she, as poor as she is, has given everything she has." We may be quick to dismiss what God wants to use in this area, but He wants to do something greater in our hearts than we could ever imagine.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite verses. And the amazing thing is, we have opportunities right here in Central Youth to live out your generosity. You can begin to trust God with your resources and live generously by giving right back to your location's youth ministry so more students can experience life change too.
Not only do we have opportunities to give back here in CY, we have students actively taking those opportunities. Check out this story.
Hi, I'm Emilise, and I'm a 10th grader, and I've been going to Central Youth since I was in 6th grade. Yeah, well, I started practicing generosity when I was really young. My parents grew up in the church, and so naturally they taught me how to give generously and have a giving heart. And yeah, I still practice generosity to this day. Well, I think of it more like if God gives me everything. If he saved me eternally, like why wouldn't I give to him? And though I don't have an income, I don't have a job, if I do get spare money from like babysitting a dog next door or birthday money even or chores money, whatever that looks like, I'm gonna give what I can to God's work. Like I want his work to be done and I want it to be done in a faithful way. And so I'm gonna work in like faith through that. In 2 Corinthians, it says, those who sow sparingly will also reap sparingly, but those who sow generously will also reap generously, and I believe that. And I think if God has blessed you with a voice, then sing praises to him. If you've been given the spirit of nurture, then tend to those who are in need. If he's even given you finances of a job, then you give him your finances, and I believe that he will work faithfully through that.
Well, hey, what an incredible story from students just like you. That's what becoming the church really looks like.
To recap, we've learned what making an impact looks like, using what God has given us to help others. That includes our time, talent, and resources. We just learned about what using our time and resources look like. And now let's hear about what using our talents looks like.
Talent, like talent show. Dana, one time I was in a talent show at 7 years old, and I was part of a hip hop dance group. Can you believe that?
I really can't.
Look at me.
Did you guys win?
We didn't win. Maybe it was my fault, but I don't really believe like dancing is really my talent.
I don't know about that. Let's see what you got.
Boom! I lost my wedding ring in the midst of all that. Got it.
Okay, but seriously, that's actually a great point. We may not know our talent or even believe that we have one, but God has given each one of us a talent to help others.
Absolutely. And the use of your talents or your gifts is a huge next step in your faith journey. 1 Peter 4:10 says we should use whatever gift we have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace. What does that look like exactly?
Each of us has been blessed with different talents. 1 Corinthians 12 talks about how we are all baptized into one body by one spirit. And it goes on to say that God has put each part where he wants it. We are all made uniquely for God's purpose, and our different gifts are important and can work together to glorify God. So, by exploring what spiritual gifts you have, you can help narrow down where you might enjoy serving. For example, if you have the gift of exhortation, you may want to join our prayer team. Or if you have the gift of administration, you might want to help with setup, tear down, or events. If you have a musical talent and you play an instrument, you may want to serve on the worship team. Those are just a few examples.
Crazy enough, Dana has literally all three of those. But for you guys, at the end of this video, you'll see a link to take a spiritual gifts test where you can identify how God has gifted you. Once you're done, you can get your results and let your leader know. So together, you guys can see how you can use your gift in your everyday life and right here in Central Youth.
That's right. So, as we learned today, God has given us all something to help others. We may not think of things such as time or resources, but these are powerful ways to impact someone else's life. Take time to reflect on how God may be inviting you to trust Him more in these areas of your life.
Absolutely. The next step right now is for you to take your spiritual gifts assessment and follow up with your leader afterwards. For all of us here, it's time not just to attend the church, but to become the church. Let's use what God has given us and make an impact here in Central Youth.